Take advantage of this little downturn and all the talking and go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank all of you for coming, being here for our town council meeting tonight. We appreciate all the time and so much when citizens take time to come in and attend our meetings, take the opportunity to speak and have your voices heard. So we're happy that you're here this evening. It's great to see Former Mayor Brown here. It's always great to have you come and show up. Makes me a little nervous, but I'm always glad when you're here. And we're going to ask his wife, Mamie, if she would have our invocation and prayer for us.
Lord, we come tonight and ask your blessings and your guidance upon this meeting. We pray that you would guide us in the appointments and decisions that we make. In your will and what is best for our family. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. And now we have our introductions. I'm sorry. Yes. Most importantly, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Valerie Alverson, Town Clerk.
Diane Waltman.
Mike Alves.
Dina Barnes.
Tim Sessions.
Alicia Flowers.
Scott Wilford, Town Manager.
Sherry Finance Officer.
Jim Secor, substituting as town attorney for William Hill.
Thank you, Jim. Good to have you with us.
Yes, sir.
And now proceed to our consent agenda. If everyone's had time to look over that, if there are any questions or discussions, we can have time to do that now.
And Mr. Mayor, I would like to respectfully request that we remove item 8A, the consolidated committee ordinance from the agenda.
Okay. Any other discussions or changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 8A, consolidated committee ordinance.
Motion by Mr. McClellan,
Second.
second by Mr. Adams. All in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Okay. In the way of announcements, I have a couple, and then if any other council members have any announcements. One is coming up Saturday, September the 19th. It's an Alzheimer's ride that they did last year at Summerfield Baptist Church. It was a great event. Whether you have a motorcycle or not, if you're going to come out there to be there when it starts and just walk around and look at those bikes, it's an amazing thing. So it's a great event last year. It's a fundraiser for Alzheimer's, and it's called A Ride to Remember. And that's coming up on the morning. I don't know the exact time of that morning, but if you're interested, it starts at 8:30 Saturday morning, September the 19th. So anyone interested, I would encourage you to mark your calendars for that date and try to attend. And then secondly, since we have a lot of folks here that some I've never seen before, we want to take our opportunity to let you know that if you're here and would like to be able to make public comments during that time, if you would, there's these little slips of paper over here. If you would like to get a piece of paper and fill that out, and you can just hand it there to Mr. Secor if you would. He can pass it around, and we'd love for anyone who would to take our opportunity to speak and be heard. Other announcements from council? We know there's an upcoming election, and some folks up here are running for election or re-election or election to another post. So if you all would like to take an opportunity to share.
I'm Dina Barnes. I'm running for re-election on the town council.
Elizabeth McClellan, I'm running for mayor this time. I've been on the council for 4 years. It's been quite intense. So I thought I would try something a little bit different, but I still wanted to serve in the community. I travel a lot, and as soon as I get back to my home, I see this is my best place in the world, and I wouldn't have anywhere else. So my goal is to kind of keep it as close to the place that drew me in as I possibly can.
Very good. Thank you. That's several of you.
Mr. Mayor, I have two quick date announcements.
What are you running for?
I am not, I run from the meeting at the time. On October the 10th, we're having a touch truck event. Don't know what that is, generally for the kids, but it's come out and see all kinds of different vehicles, large vehicles, small and music, to get to touch and play and sit. And had a successful one last year. That's October 10th, 10 a.m. at our athletic park. Also, if you would save the date of October the 3rd, that would be our fall summer cycle event. So good opportunity for you to come out and recycle a lot of things, and we'll have more information about that. And that's at Laughlin, the former Laughlin School, Laughlin Professional Development Center, at 8 a.m. on October the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. And that October 10th date for Touch Truck, I'd like to expound on that and blow it up a little more, because I attended it and me and the kids had a ball. It's a lot more than you think it's going to be. So if you have kids, small kids, it was fascinating, the stuff they had out there. The sheriff's SWAT team truck was out there, and you could walk through it, and all the televisions in there and stuff. It was, and they had these trucks they do the trees with, so had these things they could put in, but they didn't put us in together, and take a selfie. It's amazing to see that stuff, so please try to bring your kids to that on October the 10th. It was cloudy, it was a rainy day last year, we still had real good attendance. It was a great day, great time. Ms. Barnes?
Right, saying the October 3rd event made me think that when the Women's Resource Center of Guilford County, they're having their 20th anniversary this year, and they always have the men can cook, and they're looking for a few good men to cook. So if y'all, if anybody is interested in doing that, I think I sent some information to Town Hall that you can get some information on signing up to do that. It's a lot of fun. My husband, DJ Barnes, cooks for them every year, so I am the sous chef. But it's a great big opportunity to be out there. They have silent auctions and different things. And if you're not familiar with the Women's Resource Center, it's been going on, staffed a lot by volunteers, Council for Women, which I'm on as far as the state. What is it that we are? It's anyway, the governor appoints us to its board. I serve on that board, and it has wonderful opportunities for different things that help women. There's opportunity to get legal fees and help with training, help with almost anything you need. So check into that on October the 3rd.
Thank you. Any other announcements from council or employees, anything? Okay, then we'll proceed to item 6, our public comments. And for public comments, we'll call your name. If you will, please come to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes to share with us whatever you will. We're just, in the interest of time, we do ask you to be respectful and be ready to stop when we tell you your 5 minutes is up, so we get everybody heard. So we'll begin with Gail Dunn.
A number of things here. I was looking at the finances, and it looks like the 3 years or more the staff has been here, pay and benefits have doubled in the town. The taxpayers are paying twice as much for pay and benefits. Population hasn't grown. The taxpayers aren't twice as rich, but somehow it's doubled. But I don't see, I really don't see results here. I guess we're going to get the light of the parking lot. And the flag building was taken down, but they're just, sometimes I think you're looking at doing too much and then you're not doing it well. I think it would be better for the council to focus and just do something well. I had sent a question about the fire protection study. And I'm sorry Mr. Hill isn't here, that I sent a question. I'd like the attorney to explain where in the North Carolina statute that Summerfield has the statutory authority to levy taxes and proceed with a for a fire protection district. I don't, what I've read in the past, we don't have that legal authority. And I wish the fire department possessed with this. They did create a new taxing district last year for their taxes, and Summerfield went up substantially. So, this is $9,000, and it seems to be the statutory authority and the responsibility lies with the fire protection district. And I don't think any of you have any expertise in firefighting or in national standards or anything like that. And rather than be spending time on this, why don't you look for some other things that need to be done and focus on those who do them well? I'm really disappointed that Bill Hill isn't here. We should have a number of things on the agenda that are really important. The Summerfield A&Y Greenway contract with the consultant for $325,000 was not, I don't think it was on the website. I had checked again today. Valerie was kind enough to pay for it and pay the $1.50 for it, $1.50 for it to have a copy. It just seems like something this important should have been with the agenda. We think it's important. I think how many people here think maybe a $12 million trail is important. So yeah, we'd like to, I think this should have been on the website. And I want to make it clear, my husband and I were in support of trails long before other people. We were supportive of trails when we moved here in 2003, 2004. We supported the Dr. Seller survey for the trails. And unfortunately, the people that now are chairing the trail committee didn't want the trails. They spent the $1 million on, they decided the most important thing was $1 million amphitheater. Gene Barnes, you were here, you decided the most important thing was the amphitheater. And at that time, Dr. Seller's survey was very clear statistically that people wanted to pass along the trails. We felt that's what the priority should have been. But I would request that this contract be tabled until the public has a chance to read it, put it on the website. The public has a chance to read it. Bill Hill could answer a couple questions about it. I think that would be important. The other thing is the most important thing in here is you have the easements, where we have a $325,000 design who wants to, produce some concept and lovely pictures and things like that. But you really should look if you've got where the easements are. I understand you want to take the road up Summerfield. People should understand. People think of a trail, we think of a walking trail, maybe, maybe 4 feet, 5 feet wide, in a wooded, pretty area. No, the A&Y means, and Scott's very firm on this, he wants 100% A&Y, which is a 10 to 12 foot wide paved road with a 20 to 22 foot wide easement. And when we heard about this a few years ago, they were talking about $1 million a mile. So it isn't a question whether someone wants trails or they don't want trails. I think the people of Summerfield want to know what it's going to cost and where are you going to go with this. And none of those questions are answered. They can have public meetings down the road, but the other flaw I see in the contract is there's only one person that they're going to talk to, Scott Whitaker. Scott will have 100% power with this contract. And the people on the meeting start. So my request is that why don't you wait until next time, publicly put it on the agenda, let people know that it's going to be on the agenda, and encourage people to come and ask some questions. Give them the best, honest answers that you can.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Adrian Williamson.
My name is Adrian Williamson. I live at property maintenance. I know this is a sore subject to some people. But I was here when that was discussed previously, many years ago, with the town council said that way, we said out here. My understanding was, and I was probably really wrong, discussed in another meeting about the cost. And, I don't have the greatest memory in the world for this perfect. As I tell people, I'm not the sharpest tack in the box, but I'm not the dullest either. So, I know the people that's probably with the vineyard wants to take this over. I'll play with them. Because, what do we say? What costs us, I'll get my notes here just a minute. I kind of got this involved. But, I think they come up with, $36,476 at the last meeting we had here. And, I mean, more $36,000 we spent. So I just think we need to really investigate that. I mean, I hate it for the people. It's nice for their community, but I don't think the whole town something is doing that. And I misplaced one of my notes that I was going to talk about tonight was about this age group of people that possibly could use the A&Y trail. And, further talk about that, I'm just amazed that somebody hadn't been to a town council in probably 4 to 6 months, previous last month. Could get up here just about what I see. So that makes me very happy because I resonate to somebody that they feel like they need to take notes and pass it on down the line. But the amazing part about it was, I made a true comment. I didn't know of 10 or 12 people that was interested in the trails. And I was going by the ones that sit out here in the crowd. They're the only ones that I know of. And when Miss Doggett was asked about the meeting that they had several months ago, she said they had a large crowd there about the trails. And finally, somebody asked her how many was there, and she said 10 or 12. So I wasn't off. But Mr. Doggett has got some wonderful math. It went from my 10 to 12 to his 10 to 1,000. Now I'm going to tell you what, if I was an investment banker, I'd talk to him, but he can really rock the numbers. It kind of reminds me of old saying, people ask me about my Hummer, how much gas mileage it gets. I tell everybody it gets 24 miles to the gallon. That's kind of like his math, 12 in town and 12 on the road, that's 24. So you see, that's a little play on words, But getting back serious here, I'm not in favor of the super highway trails that we're trying to put. Like I said in the last meeting, the golf course don't have as nice a golf cart path as we're going to put in a trail. And 12 foot wide, that's as wide as one section of the highway on a rural road. A little larger than some because they're adding 2 foot now because they're narrow. So I mean, why do we need something like that? And I passed down on Oak Ridge Road over there, and there the city is with 2 mowing crews over there to mow that deal over there. So there's a lot of upkeep is going to be involved in this trails deal, and that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not opposed to trails, I'm just opposed to putting the superhighway in for a trail. That's it. I mean, it's entirely too much money. And it's just like this water deal for the fire department. I'm not against the fire department having water. Lord have mercy, I'm not against it. I just don't want to run over the water in my house. And as Mr. Adams said, he wanted a little skin in the game over here when we was going over the budget, so we got it down to $9,500. And they done proposed to spend just about all that for just a little survey. So where does it ever end? In the last 2 meetings that we've had, if we spend what we talked about spending over here, we've already spent over $800,000 out of the budget in just 2 wonderful meetings. We got a long time to go. We got 10 more months out. So, I'm just saying, I know everybody gets tired of hearing somebody that's kind of negative. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be very positive in this. I'm thinking about myself, my family, and my children. And we talk about everybody walking on these trails, and these different age groups that's going to walk on these trails. Well, Mr. Sessom right there, he had children that played ball. I had kids that played ball. I got grandkids that play ball, and I work every day. So I don't have time to go and walk. I walk plenty at the ball field when my grandyoungers are playing ball, and I work and walk. So I don't understand where all these people are that are going to use this trail and make me realize and think that it's well worth the money. Not a super highway trail. Am I out? I thought I had one more minute.
No.
Okay. Well, I thought it was on 19, it's 52, so my math was pretty close. But I thank all of y'all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Appreciate y'all letting me speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you. John O'Day.
Not quite as fiery. John O'Day, 713 Elk Court here in Summerfield. 2 years ago, I stood up here, standing up here talking about how humbling it is to people stand before your neighbors and ask for support in the form of a vote. It's a very humbling experience, and I'm back here again 2 years later, and I am a candidate for town council. And a little bit about my background. I'm one of those Air Force kids that really did live all over the place. Alaska, Mississippi, Maryland, and we did a little Arizona, we did a little geographical moves. So I've been all over the country. I've settled in Summerfield because I love Summerfield. My wife and I just fell in love with the area when we first came down here looking for properties, and that was about 4.5 years ago when we relocated here, and I still love it. It's the best place. Elizabeth said it's the best place to come home to. I always love coming back here, and I think trouble too. My wife and I have always been involved in the community, one form or another, either with our HOA or with the town itself. I've been serving on the Trails and Open Space Committee for the last 2 years. I really enjoy the privilege of serving the town community. I consider it an honor. I grew up that way. My father was involved, very involved in politics, pulled me in, told me that local government's where it's at, and he's absolutely right. It's where you can actually see one single vote work. And it's been an amazing process, going through one election cycle. So my background is healthcare IT. I've been in healthcare information technology for about 20 years. I have a degree in computer science. One of those geeky guys, or I used to be one of the geeky guys. They don't let me do that stuff anymore. They have me running projects. I deal with multi-million-dollar budgets, and my job is to bring the project in on time and on budget. So I understand budgets, I understand the stick to them, and I understand how to do things in an efficient manner. And I believe I can bring some of that professional experience into the government and approach things with that kind of background. As a trail committee member, my job was to enact policy, was to try to find a way to build, to extend the green through Summerfield. And as a council member, my job would be to make policy. And I believe I'm open-minded. I know that I have to check my opinion at the door, and I work for the voters. And I will absolutely represent you. That's what I feel that this job is, and I will enable. I will, to the best of my ability, spend our money in an efficient manner possible. Make sure we do something right the first time, and we do it right every time. And I think it's important. I believe in the community. I think we're going to have some changes, and I believe I can help foster the change and help us stay the Summerfield that we love, even though I think we love it in different degrees. Some of us have lived here all their lives, and some of us lived here a few years. But I think somewhere in there, most of the people love it. Love Summerfield. Thanks for your time, and I appreciate your support this November. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. Dwayne Crawford.
Dwayne Crawford, 1106 NC Highway 150 West. I was asked to come up here and say something about a small thing here. You guys have talked about the water and public safety a little later. And an individual asked me to call another individual that you've all already heard from about tonight on a recommendation from the public safety. And I'm not speaking to the entire committee, I'm just talking about 3 individuals that you've all heard from. A discretion, concern, any decision made pursuant to what the committee recommended, because we've all learned a whole lot since that time, committee and council alike. And we'd like to have a chance to revisit that if you're going to make a recommendation pursuant to what the committee said. And I do this, I say this with full blessing for the other 2 individuals that you're already aware of. Do we have a walking trail problem in the town of Summerfield? I don't think so. I use my mom as an example. She's 72, something like that. Been around Summerfield for a very long time. She walks a lot. She does it to keep her health up, the osteoporosis, walking posts, all that. And we have a little bit of property. She goes and walks around an acre property as many times as it takes to get her mileage to where she wants to be. She doesn't attend these meetings. She doesn't like to attend these meetings because of this adversarial, contentious nature, among other reasons. But she solved her own problem. And I know there's lots of grandmothers out there that, well, I'm speaking about my father, he's down his back. There's no way he's going to walk on this trail. He has a very hard time getting around these days. I got tendonitis in this heel. I'm not going to be using this trail because it just hurts me to walk so far. So it's clearly very popular among a very small group. I won't deny that. But I don't see the popularity beyond a very vocal small group. But popularity is not a reason to spend the money on a population of 10,000 among a very small group. It's just not fair to the population. I think you guys need to sit back and step outside of your current position, step outside of the popularity, and look at it very objectively. I know we don't have a walking trail problem in the town of Summerfield. I know too many people that solve their own problem. I know too many people that are vocal about this. They have lots of property they could walk on themselves if they only chose to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Reese Walker.
My name is Reese Walker, 979 MC Highway 150 West, Summerfield. I didn't want to come tonight, but this weekend I saw some of the same emails Mr. Crawford alluded to. And I've never said I was embarrassed to be from Summerfield. But those emails almost made me say that. A few years ago, many years ago, there wasn't a stoplight at Town Hall. The town put one up. That's the state's responsibility to put stoplights up. But the town saw a safety issue. They had a study done, they put a stoplight up. It was a safety issue. Just a few years ago, in front of the elementary school, the town put $18,000 up to put a fence up to help keep the kids from getting in the road. That's a really proactive approach. I'd much rather be proactive than reactive and have kids hit on a school bus crossing Summerfield Road. We put a stoplight up. That made a lot of sense. We helped put a fence up. That made a lot of sense. We didn't wait for somebody to get hurt. We saw an issue and we moved on. And for some of the public safety committee to say they didn't know it wasn't the town's responsibility they're right. They are right. It's not the town's responsibility to provide this service. The fire department should do it. I can't speak for the fire department. They should do it. But the town knows there's an issue. And just like with the state stoplight, the town made something happen. And I know we're talking a stoplight and a water system and a water study, but who knows what a water system costs? It may be extremely feasible, but the study will tell us that. And that's not $1 million. That's not $8 million. That's not $1 million. That's a study to see what needs to be done, what can be done to improve safety. And I've run off with the future of this town. 10, 15 years down the road, wells go dry, lakes dry up, fire department can't get water, my house catches on fire. I'm not going to be happy. I don't think anyone here would be happy. The fire department pulls up, they do all they can do, but they don't have water. And 10 years ago, we tried to get water. 10 years from there, 20, then 10 years, no water. There wasn't a study. But a study should be done. And same with the trails. There isn't a lot a lot of use on the trails. I don't know if anyone has been by the parking lot on any day that it's not raining, but there are cars in that parking lot. And I can't tell you if everybody goes from Summerfield, but I can guarantee that everybody that goes to that stop sign is not from Summerfield. So if we're gonna start picking and choosing, I guess we need to put fences up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison.
Martin Brown?
We weren't going to do adversarial politics. Isn't that what you asked for last time?
Thank you, Mayor Mark Brown, 6212 Fort Street Drive, Summerfield. Wasn't here last week for the candidate introduction, but I'm also running for mayor of town of Summerfield. Wanted to provide my sort of credentials to the public. Was in the great military police company on the north from the 60s to the mid-70s. Went to work for the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, started working here, retired in 2004. In 1999, I was elected to the town council and served 3 two-year terms. In 2005, the citizens of the town decided that they wanted to elect the mayor of Summerfield. So through a referendum, they passed the referendum and a special election was held. I ran for the first mayor's job and was elected and served for 4 terms. So the late as mayor. I retired in December of 2013 and this past July when I learned that Mayor Sessions was retiring, I did a lot of thinking about it and decided that I would like to see the home of the mayor of Summerfield remain the same as it's been for some time. And I would also like to advocate for a lot of projects that are ongoing in Summerfield that I was able to go implement it in the first place and that are still ongoing now. But I just wanted to ask for the support of any group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is that all the candidates or any other candidates? I was trying to put all them together. I think that's everything.
I didn't express it, but I am a candidate for office, by the way.
I was wondering. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Richard Walsh.
Good evening, my name is Richard Walsh, and I live at 7635 Henson Forest Drive, the Henson Forest Development. I'm here to communicate 3 things to the council. And by the way, I'm not up for election. One, the lack of communication that's been not occurring on the I-73 connector project. 2, the changes that have been made to the I-73 connector project are significant, and we've been communicated that they're not significant. And 3, that the plan as we go is unacceptable. And I'll explain each bullet point. 1 is lack of communication on the I-73 connector. The community sent several board members to the DOT open forum. We also, my family, my wife and I attended the developer's vision for some of the commercial property along 150. There are no minutes or references of these discussions, visions, or commitments that were made during those meetings on our website. I would like to request that they were put on the website. 2, regarding the plans, when I purchased my home 8 years ago, I visited the DOT. They reviewed the plans with me at that time. They communicated that the road would be below grade, that it would go underneath 150. Several changes since I sit on our community I-73 Connector Committee have changed significantly since then. So I believe there should be a public discussion and debate about those changes. 3, there is a communicated plan as we go, which we originally said that's okay, we understand it. However, during the last DOT meeting, we were assured, our community, that the trees along 150 would be preserved. 2 days later, they were completely removed. In addition, there was a new 100-yard section of trees that were removed from our community for no apparent reason or communication. We arrived one day, they were gone. This is in addition to the water runoff section. So again, I want to formally communicate to the council, one, the overall lack of communications that have occurred between our communities, particularly Hinson Forest, the Armfield and Hinson Farms, which this road will come up against. Two, the changes to the I-73 connector are significant. So there should be different decisions made in terms of the changes occurring. And then three, that the plan as we go is unacceptable. And we want to make that formal request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Joanna Reynolds.
Joanna Reynolds, 6202 Cornfield Court, Summerfield, North Carolina. First thing I want to say is I like Summerfield the way it is. I like the rule. I like it. I know there's going to be changes, and a lot of the things that we love about it, we probably don't have a lot of control, but I do want to speak out and say that, and ask the board to keep that in mind, because I think I share that with a lot of residents. I think there's only a small percentage of people that want to see it grow and develop into something very commercial, something where we could expect to possibly see apartments or hotels or large buildings. I don't think many people here came to Summerfield to see that. I also want to say that I share in everything that Mr. Walsh just stated. If I could second that somehow and not have to repeat it in my limited time, I would like to say that. We do not have communication, and we do look on the website when there's things missing that we can't look at and reference and make comments regarding. The other thing that I would like to add is the impact of Hinson Forest, and I'm sure other communities are feeling our values have plummeted. They continue to go down. Things have not been presented to us the way we would like, so that we could comment or request or agree. We're just pretty much in the dark. So we'd like to have some type of a communication where if our input matters, we're able to come and share our feelings and our positions. One of the things as well, I looked at my property with Palm Island back in 2006, and he showed me plans for a connector that was not going to be very large. It wasn't going to be an interstate for sure. It also wasn't going to be 75 miles an hour or 70 miles an hour, from what I understand. It was presented as something just to get you to where you were going to the highway. So I understand that's changed, and that's disturbing and of great concern. The other thing is our community has, as far as I know, 2 entrances. If we get to the point where we feel that there's some remedy for us to put a gate up and prevent all the traffic from coming through and cutting through our neighborhood to exit and to get back on the other roads through our neighborhood, with that other entrance being open, not considering us a private road. I'm not sure if that's something that we can do, but it would be something I think all our homeowners would feel a lot safer about. I'm sure others as well. That's it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Joanna. Hey, did I sing in your wedding?
I think you did.
That was some number of years ago. That's funny.
I did speak with someone from Hinson Forest last week, and it may be you, Joanna. But I did call Bobby Morris on Monday, and last Monday, and he was going to get back to me at the end of the week. Since it was a long weekend, I haven't followed up with him, but I will try to give him a call tomorrow to see if there's any way we can get a discussion together with the design build contractor and with the homeowners association.
Yeah, and last month in our meeting, we did have a little period of question and answer with Mr. Norris. He was here. Also, Mr. McKinney was here. And so tried to take opportunity for folks who had questions or concerns or wanted to have a conversation about it, about anything. It was not only specific to that road, but to all the road projects that are going on, because we have so many out this way, and did that. And so they were here last month, so I apologize that you all weren't here for the opportunity to participate in that conversation. But as Ms. McClellan has said, I would ask Mr. Whitaker if he could to try to coordinate that conversation. And also Mr. McKinney has volunteered, if you all would like to, he said, take him outside. We may need to send some protection out with him, but if you all would like to take him outside, he'd be glad to talk to you, try to answer your questions, and you know, with his role at the MPO, he can be a great facilitator toward trying to get some of your questions answered, because we hear what you're saying, and it is a DOT. It's a DOT project. It's their decision, so it's not really something that we have much say over here. But we'd like to get you in touch with the folks that can answer your questions for you.
The approval of the commercial property along 150
That's
owned by the city council.
Yeah, that was, not me, I voted against it. I still stand on the record.
So I agree in terms of I-73. There are two issues. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we thank you. We thank you for being here, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to hear you this evening. Cindy Jones.
Hi, Cindy Jones. I live at 8423 Deersfork Road. I started coming to, I moved to North Carolina in 1997, and so fallen in love with this area and lived here ever since. And one of the things that was really striking of moving to the Greensboro Triad area, I'm Canadian, and there was just a real lack of bicycle paths and walking paths and sidewalks and things like that. And when I first, now I do a different job, but for a number of years I worked in human resources for a couple of different multinational companies. And in the recruiting process of trying to get people to come to want to work and have jobs in the Greensboro Triad area, one of the top 5 things that kept coming out when people were looking for communities to live in was walking paths and trails and connectedness and sidewalks and bicycle paths. And that time and time again came up with people who have lived in other cities and been used to those amenities. And I really think that Summerfield taking advantage of this opportunity and doing that in this area is going to help increase home values here, because it's something that people moving from other cities really want. And they only want to look at houses in communities that have those types of amenities. So I think it's going to be good for property values here. It's going to be good for Summerfield, and ultimately it'll be good for the Triad of having communities with the amenities that people want coming from other cities. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. George Lockhart.
Good evening. My name is George Lockhart. I live at 6105 Plymouth Road and have lived there for about 15 years. I just want to take a couple of minutes to advocate for trails and the initiatives that you're working on with the Greenway and anything else in that nature. And I'd like to point out something that maybe gets overlooked when it comes to thinking about trails and that type of recreation, walking, bicycle riding, and so on. And that is the safety issue. You know, it's really much safer for people to walk and ride their bicycles that I think we're all probably pretty aware of, how dangerous that can be. If I'm not mistaken, there have been at least 2 people killed in recent years, riding bicycles, including a gentleman who lived on our street. And then a lady over on the Brookbank Road, not too many years ago. And, if there'd been a nice trail like a greenway, not that I'm that crazy about the idea of paved trails. Personally, I prefer unpaved trails, but if there'd been a nice trail like that for her to ride on, maybe she wouldn't have been riding on the public roads and that accident. So that's all I have to say, and appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. David Rayford.
My name is David Raper, and I live 6062 Windsor Farm Road. My wife and I did the Gwynedd development in the early 90s. Very successful development. The Gwynedd development had an environmental overlay and environmental focus to it with some really unique aspects of environmental easements that went between the sites. And trails were a part of the emphasis there. We have internal trails that everyone in the area uses. We have 2 ponds that everyone in the area uses. And we welcome that. It strengthens the areas. It creates an open field and a nice statement about what we value and the friendship. The same thing can be applied to Summerfield, I believe. That trails are an open gesture to the community and to the visitors that come up or through. And we applaud the efforts that have been done by the committee to think about what our role in the various trails are, the maintenance and the planning. And we sincerely hope that the town council thinks about the forward-thinking steps that they have made in the past and how they can varnish the image of our town, which we're all very proud of. So I speak in favor of the efforts that have been put into planning for the trails. And I certainly hope that we can move forward with them. I know that I would be quite disturbed, as we have in the past, driving on a road or something like that, and it stops in your detour, and that's the way that it's done until these things are completed. I'm sure that the ocean to the sea, the ocean to the mountain trail will be completed. And I certainly do not want to be a part of a town that does not do its part and is not known for not doing its part. So now is the time to move forward with the planning, to move forward with the maintenance that has been suggested. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. Beth Kaplan.
Y'all got the microphone on, we cannot hear them back here.
Got the lights on?
No, the microphone, we cannot hear.
You always got the lights on that make you hear. Obviously, I can't hear it. Can you check that and see if it's on? Yeah, I think it should be pushed up.
It's up.
Okay. Can you tap on it?
It's a,
Okay.
Beth Kaplan, 7979 Eiffel Road. So every time I run to the end of the AY Trail, I look longingly at that tunnel that's going under 220 into Summerfield. I know that I, as a citizen, the trail committee staff, and the town council have all been working hard on this trail. And I know that one day that tunnel is going to connect us into Summerfield. And now the next step is finally happening. We're ready to approve the design contract for the trail. How exciting to know that Summerfield will be part of continuing the AY Trail and bringing safe outdoor physical activity to the town. And I'm excited to know that I'm a part of that. I know it hasn't been easy, but really important decisions aren't meant to be easy. But I know that the council will make the right decision by approving the design contract and moving forward with the trail planning. And I thank you for all your hard work. And now, because unfortunately the AY Trail doesn't continue through that tunnel yet, I must leave you and drive back into Greensboro to find a safe place to do my speed workout tonight. But one day, though, I know I'll be able to step outside of this door and continue on with my run, and that will truly be a happy day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Captain. Sorry to hold that from your run. Rod Brown.
Can you guys hear right there? Thank you for the opportunity to address council. I do not like to stand up and talk in front of people, and I wouldn't unless I thought it was something very important. And Councilwoman McClellan, you mentioned that you moved to Summerfield because of what you saw here in beauty. And I moved, I practiced in Greensboro when I first came out of school, and I moved to Summerfield because I would come all the way from Greensboro out to Summerfield to use the existing trail systems here. And the trail systems here are kind of known far and wide for just the beauty here and the trails that we have. You know, I think the ugliest thing about Summerfield is some of the divisiveness that goes on in the community sometimes. But I think the most beautiful thing about Summerfield is if you've ever stood on that bridge down there when the sun's coming up. I'm not for being wasteful of taxpayer money, but when it comes to something that I see as helpful for the community, I'm for the research that's going into the trails right now. In any project, you have to do a study to see what's going to happen. If it turns out that it's going to bankrupt us all, I'm not going to vote for it, or I'm not going to be for it. But if it turns out that it's something that we can get back to the people in terms of wellness and health of the community, I'm all for that. I've spent my career here in Summerfield trying to give back health to the residents of Summerfield, and there's nothing more that I like to see than seeing the kids out playing ball, seeing folks enjoying the trails, families enjoying the trails together. Both my kids learn to ride their bikes on the trail, and I agree with Mr. Williams as well. We are time short. I work a full-time job. I've coached 2 baseball teams down here this year, which was about 40 games, so I didn't have a lot of free time, plus the construction of my building. But I think the trails afford us a way to jump out there and grab a mile or two, or take a walk with our family, or decompress before or after work. Most healthcare dollars, as you guys know, are spent in the last week of someone's life, and I'm an advocate for spending the money that I save up for my healthcare, spending it on wellness, on good food that's a little more expensive, on exercise and those things. So I think that money spent in a helpful fashion like that is well spent. So I'd ask you to vote in favor of that study commencing. and let's see what it says.
Mr. Brown, we got about a minute and a half left. I would like you to talk about your open house and when you're opening up shop up there, do a little commercial. And also, if you want to mention the Summerfield Merchants Association, of which you're also the president and very involved in.
I did not run for that. I got shoved into that. But the Summerfield Merchants Association is it's a group of local merchants, and we're not here to erect skyscrapers in Summerfield. I promise you that. But we are here to promote Summerfieldians using Summerfield local Summerfield businesses. The reason that I built more structure than I need in my new building is not to be a landlord. That's the last thing I want to be. But I want to bring an infrastructure to Summerfield. We need dentists. We need pediatricians. We need chiropractors. We need minute clinics and things like that, because last time I checked, Summerfield is aging a little bit population-wise, so we're all going to need all those types of positions. But it's my desire to get back good infrastructure back to Summerfield, and so we have a group of like-minded business people here who want to make it convenient for you folks to be able to get your foods, your health care, and your services right here in town without having to drive through all this construction to get to Greensboro Park. And hopefully our building will be ready in a couple of months, and hopefully it'll be something that reflects well on some of the. Thank you for giving me.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. We look forward to that opening, and appreciate all that you do. And the Summerfield Merchants Association, I'll just mention, I mentioned during the announcement time, we had kind of a kickoff. We've been having forming meetings for the last 3 or 4 months, and we had a kickoff on the first Tuesday of this month, which is our regular meeting time now. So if you're interested, it's the first Tuesday of the month, and right now it's at the Polo Farms Clubhouse. So the first Tuesday of the month, Polo Farms Clubhouse is at 6 o'clock, 5:30.
It's at 7 o'clock.
It might be at 7. I can't do that.
You got there.
Hey, I was there.
You got there.
I was there. So it was a great kickoff. There were over 50 business owners at that meeting. So, Oak Ridge has a very developed one, and they do a lot of give backs and a lot of events for Oak Ridge, and sponsor kids in school who need sponsorship and those type of things. So I would encourage anyone interested to get involved. Clark Doggett.
Clark Doggett, 7986 Cycle Road. Start with, since everybody's been telling how long they moved to Summerfield or when they moved to Summerfield. Lord willing, next week I will have been here 73 years on the same piece of property. The address has changed from time to time. It's been the same piece of property. I just wanted to support the AMI trail. Summerfield has always had some naysayers. When I was much younger, many people opposed the telephone coming to rural Summerfield. They didn't want it to come to Summerfield because the line was over there. They didn't want their troops to bring back the lines and run through. Farmers didn't want the phone call to put in their field because it was difficult to farm around. They said the way we were doing things was just fine. But you have to think, what would Summerfield be like today if we had listened to them? When I was in high school, Hiker Road had 7 houses. 6 of these families farmed, and I knew them all. Today, there are 28 houses on Hiker Road, and I know very few who no one farms. Land is going away. It's not open like it. The town of Summerfield was formed at about 2,500 population. Now, there's over 10,000 population. And people who are watching and running on the road will know what I'm saying. You can't believe what the motor's saving you when they're passing by. And with the completion of I-73 and 4 lanes on 220, there's going to be much more traffic. There will be no safe place to ride a bicycle or run unless trails are developed. that AMY Trail, I understand, will be a paved 10-foot wide trail with no restroom facilities. With a population of 10,000, you can see the number of people that are here tonight seems to be a very low representation of the town. Either the people of Summerfield just don't care, one way or the other, whether we have a trail or not, or they believe in our elected officials that they have elected to make the right decision. All surveys show, all long-range plans show that the people of Summerfield want trails. I think tonight we should approve the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd.
Wayne White.
I'm Wayne White. I live at 7008 Crossett Court, Summerfield. My wife and I moved here about 15 years ago with our family, which is growing, and we now have a grandson with us as well. And I'm speaking tonight in favor of the trail, and I think conceptually this is something that's more important than the details. While I believe in physical prudence and I believe in transparency, I think that tonight what we should mostly consider is the vision things, in the sense of where are we going. Nobody wants uncontrolled growth, but growth is coming, folks, like it or not. With the connector, growth is coming. And the most important thing we can do, the citizens of this community, is to control that growth and do it in a very judicious way. And I don't think anything that we can do that can preserve the quality of life of this community better than extend the greenway and the 8-mile trail. People say, where are the people? Where are the people coming from? All you have to do is go down to Burr Mill. If that's the super highway, I'm all for it. You go to the Burr Mill Trail every day of the week. It's loaded with people using that, quote, super highway, which happens to be asphalt. And it's a wonderful asset. Probably the people in Summerfield benefit as much from the Burr Mill as anybody else. Why not extend that through our community so that we can benefit even closer? The businesses here, you can't put a number on it, but I assure you, our return on investment will not be measured in months, years, it will be measured in decades and decades, and not me, not my children, but perhaps my grandchildren will thank us for making the courage to make the investment, to do the right thing, and say, thanks, Granddad. I appreciate you helping preserve a walking community where fellowship can exist, where interaction can exist. Otherwise, we're in our closed boxes of cars, and we don't even know who our neighbors are. We don't know where the trail will end, but what if it ends at the Yaqui River? We're all the better for it, because there's going to be a strip mall up there, like it or not, folks. There are going to be businesses up there. And what a better way to use our community than to have people walking and biking to the stores, to the chiropractors, to the physicians, and so on and so forth. I believe that this is a huge time for this council to consider where we're going to be, not in 2 months, but in 2 decades. And I believe this Greenway Trail will help preserve the quality of life that we all think is precious.
Thank you, Mr. White. Jason Webster.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jason Webster, 7006 Crossing Court. I'm a member of the Trails Committee, but I wanted to come up here and speak from a personal perspective and give you sort of a sense of how I got here. Some of you have heard this from when I spoke with you in the interviews. It was interesting to hear from the woman who was a recruiter, because my wife was recruited here by the airport, and I can tell you one of the first things I did when we were considering it was to get online and look at the area and see what was here as far as resources, how the community was engaged with the outdoors, whether there were parks and trails and things like that, of course, quality of schools. But when we arrived here, we spent quite a bit of time in company housing. And so I did tons of research. And I found after traveling all over the country and through much of the world that a bike is a great place, a great way to get out of your car and learn more about the community. And I also did more research online, and I discovered the comprehensive plan. And I wanted to give that to you because ultimately we did choose to move here because we wanted to be close to the trails. And because I saw in the comprehensive plan that there was a community of people who were thinking with foresight. And they wanted to preserve the rural character. They wanted to preserve the historical character of the community. And they wanted to have walkability in the community so that the neighbors would meet each other. Kids could walk to school. You keep a healthy community and all of those things. And so that was a major factor in us choosing to live in Summerfield as opposed to living in Owl's Roost or living over in Lake Jeanette. And so there is a value in that document and the vision that was created. And it seems clear to me that the ANY extension has grown out of that document, that the striving for walkability was a big push. And we made it quite far. There's a tunnel there that now needs to go somewhere. And I think we're on the right track, but I just wanted to let you know that people are attracted from out of town who see a value in what was started with the comprehensive plan and what you're continuing here with your work and with our work as well. So I think it's an excellent idea. I think that with I-73 and the widening of 220, there's a risk of the community being broken up into pieces. The folks from Henson Forest are voicing that concern. And the trail systems are a way of connecting the community and bringing people together and giving them a healthy environment. Durham, over the Tobacco Trail, just recently, I think it was the Institute of Research for Recreation and Transportation, something like that. They just issued a study showing that the Tobacco Trail, putting a bridge over one of their freeways there, dramatically increased usership of the trail and boosted the annual spend of people who are using the trail to $6.3 million. So you have to scale that to reflect Summerfield, certainly, but the economic value is there, the health value is there, and we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
Paul Lambert.
My name's Paul Lambert. I live at 7707 Summerfield Road. There's been so many good speakers, I could like keep rewriting, but I'll try not to cover the same points. But well, one of the points made in the last couple of meetings is about where the money is. Is it expensive, or are we spending a lot of money? And $1 million plus $5 million for the miles, it is a lot of money. But one of the things we don't seem to mention here is that the tax value of Summerfield, the last year's assessment was $1.3 billion. So the land inside of Summerfield's boundary was $1.3 billion of tax value. So to spend $1 million on $1.3 billion and preserve that is not even 1/10%. So put it in perspective and think about the next 20 years when we jumped from 2,500 residents to 10,000 in the last 17. And Elizabeth, you know about all the different plans sitting there waiting for more farms to get converted from a 1 acre lot and haul in $400,000 worth of building materials and put it on. It's only going to get bigger. So the investment in trails is to me, we're not spending enough, we're not spending fast enough. And I'm all for prudence, not wasteful spending, but when we talk about $1.3 billion versus $5 million in trails, and 80% of that $5 million comes from the federal government from our tax dollars pumping gas in the car. So only if somebody here with an electric vehicle says, I'm not putting it in the gas tank, we're all putting gas in our cars to drive. That's where this money's coming from. So I know the NPO office in the last 10 years has been, of course, it's outside now, has been begging to give it to us to get on with this trail we've been dragging our feet. So please don't stall it tonight or use our typical corner over there to find one more stall technique to not do something. We need to move. We we need to go quicker, moving over. Because there's a lot of property, we're counting on the 70 to hold that property value and or increase it, but certainly not let it back up. So, and just one more thing, so this past Sunday, the 5 of us, my family and the 3 kids, the youngest got a new bike, she outgrew her other one, we took a bike ride Sunday morning, about 10 o'clock, and we rode from the wayside all the way up to Battlefield, around and back, and if we didn't pass 200 people in that time frame in the morning, at least 200. So I think probably have 60 seconds. The Greenway, somebody wanted to say that 12 feet is a super highway. So this table's 8 feet. Here's another 8 feet. So if Miss Flowers scooted over to the middle, there would be 4 of you here in this 12-foot path. So when you have people going 2 directions, that's barely enough space. And when you have a 18-year-old who's never going to read this in the paper, who can't drive a bike very well, it's scary. The 12 speed is just enough space. So I'd go for 15 if we could, but I don't think the Craig's going to sign off on that. So it's not a super highway, but for double traffic, 12 feet, it sounds like a lot, but it's not. So please move forward tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lambert. Anyone else that's not spoken would like to speak? Ms. O'Day?
Yes. Hi. My name is Kelly O'Day. I live at 7013 Mustang Court in Summerfield. I am here this evening as a trail user. A lot of people are saying, where is everybody? Well, I happen to be a mom, and now I'm employed, so I have time constraints as well. One of the things that we came here for in wonderful Summerfield for about 4.5 years now was the infrastructure. And the selection of our home, which took almost 2 years, and we wanted to be in Summerfield. And what I'm hearing tonight is everyone loves Summerfield. They really want to see it grow in a very constructive and positive way. And I think that's great. And I think we are undervaluing and understating the value of extending the trails. I go into Greensboro, I take my child down to the Children's Museum, and they're actually handing out maps, and it shows the A and Y and where it's going to go. People are concerned, and they're very valid concerns, and I think the volunteers that are appointed to the committee for the trail are doing a good job and will continue to do a good job. And keep asking the questions, what's going to happen, maintenance and those kind of things. I think the Appalachian Trail is all done by volunteers. So we have a lot of capable and concerned people that value residents, that want trails, that don't want trails, and have really done a good job about going around some of the pain points. So I like to see that, how much people are considerate of both aspects. But again, I just want to say, we have over half our population has children has households with children under the age of 18. Safety factor, especially with the infrastructure changing with the roads. I was on the trail the other day, met a woman just walking out, and she's just like, "Is this a trail?" I think it was actually to the vineyards. And we were like, "Sure, go along and do some trail." And she's like, "I just got a lot on my mind." So people they do shift work, they work from home, they work in many different capacities. You look at the trailheads, the parking lots, there's huge use of trail users. And the other thing about outsiders coming in, if we're concerned about home values and we want to have a limited population of homes, then we want people that are going to want to be here. And that's going to really help increase the value overall of Summerfield, to appreciate the beauty. I want to live out there because I have access to those things. So there's many positive things to look for, and I know you guys have considered all the considerations, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is Danny Nelson Jr. I live at 2500 Ridge Road. And I didn't eat Veritas to come up here tonight, but I've listened to everybody else talk. And the trails. I got a 10-year-old daughter. And I'm going to tell you what, I like to take her out to walk and everything else. But if people want to walk, I'm a deer hunter. So I'm going to tell you what, and every other kind of hunter, I'm going to tell you, if you really want to walk in the woods, we've got all kinds of woods around here to walk in. You don't need a 12-foot wide path to ride down. And another fellow come up here and talk about an 18-year-old. Well, I got a 10-year-old that she can ride a bicycle down a 2-foot wide path. So we don't need a 12-foot wide for two bicycles to pass each other. And, you know, the other thing I like to address is, I mean, I just think we gotta be aware of where the town is spending their money. I mean, the town's long since, and my people's been here since '54. So it's Mr. Crawford's. We got share people, but they've been here since '54. So I got a long history with Summerfield. But we don't, you know, we don't need to spend the money like drunken sailors, which is what the town's been doing for a long time. And, you know, $1 million for parks, I mean, for trails, we went way overboard on a 12-foot. I mean, you could drive two cars, you could pass two cars. Why does it need to be this wide? I mean, there's all kinds of paths in the woods. If people want to really get their kids out and walk in the woods, there's all kinds of woods around, and that is much better walking, trust me, than a trail. And there's hills, there's valleys, there's creeks to cross. I mean, put some waterproof boots on your kid and take them down across the trail, you know? Let them get in. If you want to get into, you know, we talk about environmental concept, but a trail and all that is not environmental. That's gussied up environmental. That's not really being in the woods. If you really want to get kids in the woods, we've got hundreds of acres around here that kids can go walking. And another thing I'd like to address is the water issue. I mean, I understand, I pay tax money to Guilford County that goes to Summerfield to address water issues. I've heard nothing out of Summerfield needing water. They got dry hydrants all over the place. They tore down a place where they could get water right up here beside Summerfield School. They tore it down because they didn't need it. Now they're saying they need water. You know, we've got, and water's going to become a big issue in the future. I realize that. Water's going to become a big issue. There's only so much on this earth. And we, you know, we have to conserve it and we have to reuse it, but we're going to have no more, no less than we've ever started with. But, you know, my issue is, you know, that should fall on the county, not the town of Summerfield. If they think they need water here, the county should fund putting in a municipal water system, not the town of Summerfield. I mean, you know, I've lived here a long time, and what I don't want to see Summerfield come is a mini Greensboro, which is the way it's going. So thank you, that's all I've got.
Danny, I didn't know.
Would you repeat your name?
I didn't catch your
Danny
last
Nelson, Jr.
What is it, your Danny Nelson's son?
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. I hope you like me too.
What's his first name?
And your address, sir? What was your address?
2500 Pleasant Ridge Road.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else that hasn't spoken?
Mr. Mayor, I want to just make one comment. It got stated incorrectly early on, and since we have some media here and a lot of public that isn't normally here, we're not talking about a 12-foot wide greenway. The standard, which is per NCDOT standards, is 10 foot. So just want to clear that up for everyone.
You've always said 10 to 12 foot
Excuse me.
wide road and a
Ms. Dunn,
20
this is not a time of
foot wide
discussion.
easement.
Please refrain from speaking, it's not a time of discussion. This will end our period of public comments, and we'll now go to our committee and committee reports. We'll start with finance.
The Finance Committee did not meet in August, but we will meet in September. The date of that meeting will be September 21st, Monday, 7 p.m. at Town Hall. And our fiscal year 50 audit will start this week on Thursday. Our outside auditors, Rouse, Ken Rouse, will be at Town Hall starting their audit.
Thank you. Historical.
The Historical Committee met on September 3rd.
We're in the process, and I think I can confidently say the final process of completing design and wording for the historical markers that have been budgeted at the Dubois Memorial and at Laughlin School. I'd like to publicly thank our new town manager for his help, and that he's been tremendous help in helping us to visualize what this should look like. We feel very strongly that we have to do a lot of thought to these markers. It's something we looked for the last 100 years or more, and we want it done right. So you'll continue to hear from us as we work on preparing these memorial markers. We have also scheduled, or in the process of scheduling, 2 more interviews with World War II veterans. This has been an ongoing project for the historical committee. This is one of the ones we're looking at. Thank you, Scott. Which will talk about Laughlin School, which was established in 1866, and has been through a number of changes since then. It was named Laughlin School in honor of the first principal. I'm not sure I can pronounce that right. Duella Laughlin.
Duella.
And her picture is now in the school there. You should go down to high school. In our area, consolidated in Northwest High School in 1962. Laughlin did not be part of that until 1965. That facility was closed as a public school in 2011 and was reopened by Guilford County Schools as its professional development center. So it still is being used by the county schools after all of these years. So, and our next memorial marker like this will be the one for the Dubois Memorial on Highway 150. So that was almost complete, and we'll be able to hopefully get both of those installed within the next few months. The other project which we're now working on is to complete more interviews with World War veterans in our area. They have lots of memories, pictures, letters, all kinds of things from the time in World War II. We want to make sure these are preserved, and we will continue to have displays of what we learned from these veterans in the town hall. So once we already have one in there, and we will be adding some of these others. We think it's very important to preserve this history of how people from Summerfield were involved in World War II. Our next meeting will be September 24th at the town hall.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Public safety?
We didn't meet last month. We are meeting this month on the 16th at 5:30. So that's next week, next Wednesday, 5:30.
Thank you.
At the fire station.
Anything to add to that?
It'll be held at the fire station.
At the fire station. Okay. Thank you.
5:30.
Trails and opens, I'm sorry?
Unrelated, but I got a question about Laughlin, if I could be so bold. Can I ask you a question about Laughlin, or is this inappropriate?
If it has to do with
the signage, yes.
Information, yeah, sure.
I went to Laughlin, first, second grade. I didn't know until just a few years ago, and Mark Brown brought it up at a council meeting, that was a historically black school, segregated school. Didn't know that. I mean, here I am, 30, almost 40 years old, didn't know that. And I didn't see it on the sign, but I'm looking at it sideways. I was wondering if that was part of the historical marker.
I didn't see it on there either.
Well, you know, I don't know exactly how
And I'm not trying to mess up the process.
That was discussed.
Oh,
It was
okay.
opened as a Sabbath school, if people know what a Sabbath school is.
No, they don't.
These were schools that were opened after the War between the states. Before then, the black people were not allowed to learn to read and write. It was against the law for them to know how to read and write. Some were taught in secret, but these schools called Sabbath schools were started after the war was over, specifically to teach reading and writing to the black citizens. And so this school was started as one of those.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's quite all right. I'm glad you.
But you say
It's in there.
It's a.
Okay, and Trails and Open Space.
Trails and Open Space had a wonderful meeting last month with Julie Reed. She is a real asset to this town and has a wealth of knowledge. She came and imparted a lot of knowledge on the Trails Committee. And are going to take the information she gave us, and our next meeting is September the 23rd at 6 o'clock at Town Hall, and we will move forward.
Okay. Thank you for the committee report. Are there any event reports?
You actually have one from the last Richmond Park, that's handed out for you this evening.
Okay. Anything you want to cover that?
No, overall, so, one of our best music in the park events. We don't have another one scheduled until, the spring. We had 2 for the year, one for the fall, one for the spring. That was our, one for this budget year until we get into, next spring.
Well, we talked about at the Summerfield Merchants Association, they were trying to sponsor and begin in the park, so maybe that'll give us a few more. Thank you. Okay, now on to number 8 on our agenda, business from the town manager. 8A, we have removed. So 8B, Vineyard Trail Property Language.
Okay, we've talked about this for some time, and I won't belabor the point of the history of the Vineyards Trail, but I would like to give you an update from last month. If you'll remember last month, the Vineyards HOA had presented an agreement that is in essence an easement agreement between the Vineyards and Guilford County and the town of Summerfield. And that agreement speaks briefly to trail maintenance. It doesn't give a whole lot of detail about that. But if you'll remember, our town attorney at the time, he was receiving that on the spot. He needed more time to look for more documentation with that. We have followed up, trying to find more information. We've done off-site for our amendments back then, and which weren't overly helpful. I have talked to the previous town manager, that Mr. Michael Brandt, that was here at the time. Also, we talked with the developer of the vineyards just to see what was remembered, and one of the takeaways that we learned was more of why the county was so interested in it, and it seems that a good bit of that interest was to get bicyclists up to Highway 150 without them crossing over 220. So if you'll look quickly on the map that we have, this blue line is the existing A and Y, and that turn there to 220 is the tunnel that's been mentioned this evening. So this red line is really the critical part of the Vineyard Trail, although that is identified by a different name in the easement agreement. But this goes up to Tuscana and on up to 150. And the long and short of it is we still don't have really all of the documentation that we feel like is out there. And our attorney has asked for a little bit more time to finish that, but I wanted to, since we had it on the agenda, see if you had any questions. I know we have the Vineyards HOA representation here this evening, and I thought while you're here, you may want to comment on anything since then. We also have Mr. Secor as our attorney.
I talked to Bill yesterday, and I think the way it was distilled is this: we think we have a definitive document. He said it was taken out of context at the original meeting. We did, we really put him on the spot, but we had just gotten it that same day. We're trying, as much as I'd love to sit in the morning do these meetings, I'd love to try to resolve this. And I know that Bill, I asked Bill, I said, did it make based on all the research that we've done, did that in any way minimize this document? Did it deflect it? Did it in any way make it not an accurate document? And his comment to me was, no. But that doesn't mean that there's probably not other places that can be looked. I don't know how long you wish to make this journey. But I think we're like to go ahead and figure out a way to make this happen. We feel like, we talked about this last time, we've taken on the responsibility, not only because this is going to make it to the trail this past 10 years, but we've also taken on the liability of insurance, which is not included in any numbers that are quoted. As a matter of fact, we just recently upped our insurance. So, we don't know what it's going to take at this point in order to move the ball forward. And it sounds like it's not going to move forward tonight, but at least we wanted to address kind of where we're at and what we'd like to see happen.
And just from everything the gentleman said about his conversations with Bill are accurate. I think the difficulty we're having, and we circulated amongst council earlier today, was the meeting minutes from back in 2004, where this was taken up by council. This was a far more limited venture back then. We were talking about a one-time maximum expenditure of $7,000 and putting some rock down on the trail. And then we got to the easement agreement. And the easement agreement, I agree with the gentleman, does appear to be valid, but it's got a few quirks to it. The fact that it was basically written in July of 2004, the signatures were collected over a period of time and wasn't recorded until August of 2005, which raises some questions. The other thing about the easement agreement itself, it is vague as to what the shared responsibility was between the town and the county. Our responsibility may well have ended within the four corners of what we said in the meeting minutes, $7,000 and some gravel. So the research, I think, can be completed by the next town council meeting. What we're missing essentially is getting a hold of someone with the county who has some recollection of what has been done and what they were obligated themselves to do. So I don't want to impose upon you for any additional delay, but it's not going to be an open-ended delay. I think by the next meeting, Bill and I can complete our research, fill in the missing pieces, and properly apply it.
Which is in essence what his email said today.
Yeah, I also did not see that, but I guess that was shared amongst the council members. So, we're here.
Well, we apologize, we're invested another hour and a half.
It was fun, I guess we'll look forward to continued communication, hopefully resolve this in the near term.
And please feel free to call Bill over the next week or two or so just to see where we are. He'll be taking back over the reins of this one with that. Nice meeting you.
So we need a formal motion to table this.
I think just taking no action on it would be fine, since this evening.
All right, we'll post it next month. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 8C, Water and Fire Protection Study. I have I made some phone calls and had some conversations on this, and with Jeff Phillips and Jessica Conrad, who are our commissioners, by and large, for Summerfield and including in larger than Summerfield, the fire district. And so they have agreed to try to get a legal opinion on the contracts that we've been presented with and that we've heard about, to try to figure out exactly where their responsibility falls or doesn't fall. I want to be very clear in saying that that we understand that this is a matter of public safety, and so therefore it is paramount to us that it is addressed. So, so we're trying to take the ball and move it to their court to see if indeed that's what their contract says, that's their understanding, in which case we would hope they would pay for it. So I would like to ask that we, I guess, take no action on this evening and give them another 30 days to work on it.
I would like to recognize Mr. John Gray.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gray has also invested an hour and a half.
with the Wooten Company, and it is the company that we sat down with the fire department and talked through really just your directive of broadening the Public Safety Committee's original recommendation, broadening the scope of that in reference to this study. And Mr. Wooten, as the engineer, is the one that has helped us distill that information down into the scope, and I wanted to get that before you. And since he has been here, maybe if you have just a few words to say it all.
Well, okay, never pass up. Never pass up. I've been here a long time, it won't take long. My name is John Gray. I'm the office manager for the Ashboro Office Wood Company. We've been around since 1936 and have done water systems all across the state, which includes hydraulic analysis and fire suppression systems. I understand that's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at a very unique type of design and study, and I appreciate that. And, I'm willing to work with you, and hopefully we can use our knowledge from other types of systems to help come up with great ideas that will help towns or fire districts develop a fire system, supply system. So, thank you for giving me a minute. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we thank you also, Mr. Gray, for your, not only your time here tonight, but the extensive amount of time that you took in the meeting with Mr. Whitaker and Chief Johnson and myself, and going through that whole conversation and trying to weed out exactly what our options might be and understanding our situation. So we thank you a whole lot for that, and hope this turns out a scenario where you get an opportunity to look at our situation. So, thank you. 8D, AY Greenway South Design Contract.
Again, major discussion that I won't go through the years of detail and conversation about. I'll just bring us up to speed. We followed an RFQ, request for qualifications-based process to identify a firm, and specifically, and just to make sure everybody's clear on this that may not have been here in a lot of the meetings. This is beyond the study stage. This is very specifically the southern part of Greenway, the tunnel on 220 up to Summerfield Road to the rail bed there, just north of Summerfield Elementary School. But what is being considered is actually the design, all of the design and planning services, basically to bring us to a point to where we could ultimately go to construction for this project. And I had brought the number back from the identified firm, which was Stewart, a design and engineering firm. I brought the number to you last month of $320,294.48. That is very specifically for that design and planning. And since then, in following the remainder of the process, what I have given council this evening is the actual contract. And we've been working for some time with Stewart on that. And the contract is actually not complicated at all beyond, it's primarily a standard contract for the town with plug and play, the who's and the where's and the dates. But it does very specifically tie all of the work to the RFQ. The scope of the work is really clearly identified in the attachments. The pricing and the breakdown of that pricing is the same breakdown that was provided last month at the council meeting. So we wanted to be very specific about that. And ultimately, we're just to a point of decision time where we go from here. And when I say that, that could mean not moving forward. It could mean moving forward with the contract as is, or if council feels like individually you are not to the point of being fully comfortable with the will of the people on this, you could direct another step to help you determine that. And we want to be very clear about where we are and what's before you this evening, and it's a major decision, obviously.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
About the contract?
Sure.
Okay, so on page 2, where about the public meetings, where it says that the contractors require 2 meetings, and then down below it says that and conduct public meetings at key points during the design, and also a minimum of 2 public meetings. Are those the same meetings or completely different? For the conducting 2 and they're attending which ones would they be?
Are you on actual contract page 2 or attached?
This is actually the, I'm sorry, I should have clarified, it is the attachment, yes, it's the actual, what they're required to do, it's toward the end.
That is on page 2 at the bottom of the contractor shall, that section. That is actually what is required through the NCDOT process, and we have Craig here to answer more questions about that. That's not necessarily the full approach that the contractor would take, because their interest is, as Ms. Thomas described last month, very much engaging the public where they are. I expect it to be beyond those 2 meetings, but the 2 is the part of the RFQ process before we identify the firm as the required part, and that is simply the contract is tied back to that RFQ. So, Craig, do you have anything to add to that process? Did I state that correctly?
Well, in this process, what we've been doing so far is to document everything such that at whatever point in time you should ever put any state or federal funds on this, you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Yeah, and I was just curious, when it says attend requested meetings with the town stakeholders, is that like the Trails and Open Space Committee? Is that like a town council meeting? I'm assuming that the public meetings are meetings just related to the AMY Trail that the contractor does with the public engagement.
Well, what they said, when we had the interview, that they would adjust they don't have a set model for their public involvement. They are very fluid in it, and they will be here when they see the need to be here, or when you see the need for them to be here. They will make accommodations to reach out to the public and whatever opportunities that come about.
And that's the same thing she said here.
Well, because I mean,
She said they were very fluid with their meetings.
right.
But what you got to do is the NCDOT boilerplate, task and now.
So these are the minimum things that we do.
And they do have on their budget sheet, attachment B, about $9,500 worth of public meetings and involvement. So they are planning such meetings.
And that was one of the things that I stressed with them in our review. The team stressed with Stuart in the beginning was that we felt that was a critical component, and especially with the diversity of opinion here to help really ascertain that. We've talked about that quite a bit, and just to give you an idea, this is not specifically the public component fully, but we technically don't have a contract yet, but they came out as soon as they were selected as the firm. They wanted to come out and walk the trail. We spent a long time through the woods doing that. They came last month just to be before you. They asked if they should come this evening, and so far so good on the willingness to do that.
So those are just the minimums.
Right.
Okay. And then the permit fees will be responsible for, on page 4, I'm assuming that's in addition to the $312,000. It's the fourth from the bottom. It says, the town is responsible for payment of all permit fees, so that's not included in that.
That's getting more into the construction. That's
phase.
construction. What I remember their contract, that they're contracted through right now is getting the design and environmental documents done and to the point of going to bid.
So why didn't we include the north section together with the southern section just for cost effectiveness purposes?
We talked about that. We talked about that in the finance committee. We talked about that in the Trails and Open Space Committee. One of the issues was just the challenge of biting off what we thought we could get through and not extending the project for many more years. Another part, Craig, had to do with ultimately the amount of the project limits with the DOT submittals. We're over already with the size of this project. When you go that much further with the whole thing,
That, and then also if you have the agreement for the underpass at 220, there is fuzzy kind of time restraint there that they wanted to see something happen by the time they finish that. So there hadn't been that kind of pressure on owners.
Well, because the Northern was more relatively simple a layout, I felt, from what I had heard early on. So that's why I was wondering why we just didn't do the whole thing together. Okay. Questions? And we're currently at about estimating 171,000 for easement buy-ins, is that correct? I did not see that on.
That is an estimated number, and I can get into that a little bit further. It's a fair question. As far as why the contract wasn't available, there's nothing secret about this contract. There's nothing, as I was saying, it's the town standard contract with the attachments of what has been, really it just ties it to the RFQ and the scope of work that's long been on the website as part of the RFQ process. And
the other thing was just like we've heard $1 million, we've heard $5 million, we've heard all kinds of numbers thrown out. As I remember in the early stages, the RFQ was a percentage of what you estimate the final cost to be. Can you remind me again what that percentage is? So that we can maybe have the numbers of ballpark still, but it's more accurate maybe than $1 million, $5 million.
right, let me give you some very broad numbers and explain the breakdown. So we have the design, which we knew we would need to start getting to this point where we can talk about some real numbers. So we know the design is this 3 print. Okay. Depending on if the town wants to employ Stewart to also handle right-of-way negotiations that will be needed, that's another component. But
that's not included in here?
That part is not included in this. So there's a breakdown of, but let me give you that next step. There's the right-of-way acquisition services handling all the bidding and the final plans. That is a $97,381 fee.
And that's for Stewart to do the actual acquisition.
Right.
Of the easement.
That is for them to do the negotiations, but not just that. It's also that's the services for right-of-way acquisition. It's for overseeing all the bidding of this process and preparing the final plans. And this was the one that's gets a little harder. Okay, what about the actual acquisition cost? And there are some properties that we don't have full right-of-way, and it's worth mentioning. Let me pull up this map for you just a second. So this yellow line is a rough estimate of the route, and the upper part along Summerfield Road that you see is specifically much of that is in the DOT right of way. And the thinking is that right now, Stewart thinks it would be best to move that over as close to the road, keep it in the right of way as much as possible, and actually do the greenway section with curb and gutter. So there's a trade-off if you do it that approach. You save on acquiring right-of-way, you have less impact to the residents and businesses on that, predominantly on the east side of Summerfield Road. But you do incur more cost with construction because you're doing curb and gutter as opposed to edge of pavement, a grass strip, and then the actual pavement, asphalt. So it's, right now, they're looking at it in terms of using as much right-of-way as possible. There are some pinch points that we'll have to look at. And so there are also some properties there near the tunnel that'll have to be talked about. So we have another estimate for the actual acquisition, and this one is a really hard one to tell what that might be.
Right.
But what we came up with on that was 171,230. And then we have the construction estimate, and this is put forth with a 20% contingency, just because, you know, by the time we get to that point, you know, we're going to be at least a year down the road before we can get to construction. So that's pretty liberal, but that's what's been used. And so the construction part of that is $2,836,099. So if you add all of that up, and you're looking at this thing, total project for this southern section, now our best estimate is $3,425,005. Now, while that is a huge number, what you have to look at is the potential cost in terms of funding. And that is not a definite, it's not a given, but if you break it down into sections for the design part that we're talking about now, that would not go toward match, because we're not, in essence, federalizing. We're not asking for any funding for this portion of it. So timetable is part of that.
It says right here in the attachment, possible federal funding assistance.
For the whole project.
No, the design will be funded by Summerfield with possible federal funding assistance.
Well, we wrote that in there because, you know, you could change your direction and say, we want to pursue that and take the additional time to do it.
Which adds about, what, a year and a half, is that correct?
Well,
Just for the design funding?
probably not that long, but Craig, would you like to speak to that? It's more in-
Well, available funding that the NPO has right now, we're pretty much got things tied up through 2018.
I think more than a year and a half.
So 2018, so
And can you
you're
also
saying,
speak to what it communicates if we did the design and
If you do design it on your own dime, then that removes a few handcuffs, as Stuart does the design. They do not have to go to NCDOT and do Mother May I for whatever type of design they want to do. It will be the town's decision on how the trail is designed. And then, once the town makes it, then later on you get NCDOT approval. But you're taking out quite a bit of time that the consultant would have spent just talking to NCDOT during the design phase.
And considering the fact that they're following the guidelines of the DOT, that should be, the matter of presenting it would fall in alignment with what the DOT requires, right?
Yes. So they're going to follow, they're putting the design is within mind that, you know, I don't think y'all going to come to the table with $2 million for construction. We're going to be, Scott's already presented information to us to put into the state prioritization process for the upcoming 2018 to 2027 TIP. We'll see through the prioritization process, we can get some money to go towards construction.
How's that looking for us, since we're so rural? You know, how it all changed.
Well, this alignment, you're coming through the middle of the town, you're coming through the town's core, you're going by the elementary school. So those are the things that will work in your favor.
So the 56,000, wait, the right-of-way plan preliminary design for 51,000, that is, what does that give us in terms of right-of-way? What does that mean? It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean. Yeah. No, right-of-way plan preliminary design, $51,000. How does that differ from $7,000 easement acquisition.
Okay, in a project, you got phases. You have design, right-of-way, and construction.
Okay.
What they're identifying there is another phase, and that's the right-of-way phase. They'll provide the services to do the negotiation with property owners and do all the property drawings and come up with a signed deed for what is needed for any property owner that won't collect.
So the preliminary design does not ensure that we actually have easements. They're not bought and paid for, so to speak.
Think of it in terms of, first you pay for Stewart for the service of, they're gonna help us with, get through the easements and the right-of-way issue. And if you break that down, so you're looking at that 51,000 on this back page.
Right.
I mentioned back, a 97,381 number that was right-of-way acquisition services, overseeing all bidding, final plans. That 51 is that's the component of the 97. So that is not the money that we would spend toward actual acquiring right-of-way.
Right.
That is just the service of, yeah, in other words, if we said, hey, we think we can handle that part, we could probably save us $51,000 there. If we wanted to go that alone for trying to negotiate all of that right away.
So the right-of-way plan preliminary design, I still don't understand what that means. Does that mean that they've gone to each property owner where that line went through and said, will you allow this to go through, and they signed a piece of paper, yes, I will? Or no?
Which number?
The 51,000, the
The
preliminary design.
51 means they have identified those parcels that we're going to need additional right-of-way on, and they are negotiating and handling those transactions. It's not payment, but it's negotiating and then in the field, really dealing with those property owners on those items.
So what does that mean at the end of this contract? What does that look like? We have a signature from all those property owners, or that we're still negotiating?
Well, if you did let's just say you did the contract for $320,000, that doesn't include the right-of-way component.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's why I'm separating it and telling you the 320 is the design, and it's to bring us up to that point. But if we want their services on that, and we want them overseeing the bidding, and we want them doing that full component, it will be that much more, and a separate component.
And what's the possibility of property combination?
Depends on how good the negotiations are, honestly. I
So
mean,
it's basically our
$171,000 they should be.
well, as I said, we would have, if the greenway on the Summerfield Road part is moved to the road edge, that minimizes the impact and the need for dealing with that as much as part of the design, although it doesn't increase the construction cost. So,
let me just ask you this question. Say I have a property on Summerfield Road, and I don't want to give an easement on my property for the trails, but if the trail is moved out to the edge of the road, I get the trail in front of my house whether I want it or not. Is that pretty much the way
if
it
it's in the
goes?
right of way, but let me be clear, there are spots along Summerfield Road that likely they're even moving it out to the road that do not appear to have enough right of way there without acquiring additional right of way. So if you're that property owner, there's going to have to be negotiations and some kind of agreement in order to be able to have that across there.
But, I mean, what I'm just asking is from a council, because we had someone voice an opinion, they did not want their property taken. We as a council all said, and it was this council,
that we would not do that. Remember?
Well, specifically what was said at the time of the council was, when we were looking at a property here in this vicinity,
Right.
the directive, or not the directive, the will of the council was, and what was said was, you would not use eminent domain in this vicinity. That it wasn't, you will not use eminent domain anywhere, and you may not have to use eminent domain.
No, that's not what I said. I'm
Well-
sorry. I said, I wouldn't want anybody taking my property, ever.
Well, it was real clear that night that there was at least some feeling that what we were talking about was this area, not the whole project. And, but regardless, I mean, it may or may not come to that.
Never vote, never, ever, ever, whether it's here, there, or anywhere, to take someone's property for this trail. So let's be real clear about that.
Well, and I'm not saying individual council members did not say that, because I do believe, I remember you saying that, but that wasn't, it was not clearly stated that you do not use eminent domain anywhere. It was certainly presented as you did not want to do that, and overall, but anyway, that's not a big point. I mean, you're going to have to ultimately decide when we get in a place of, if we get in a place that there is a property owner that does not want to, that does not want the trail, you know, something there is going to have to give. We're going to have to reroute the trail, which is a possibility. We're going to have to find a way. We're going to have to come to some type of agreement. If you'll remember, we had a similar circumstance on Rondon Road with some paving, and it was a very similar situation. And ultimately, that was worked through, and that has been signed off on. No eminent domain was required there. We came to an agreement, and that road is going to be paved. So that is the benefit of negotiation, and it is what it is. I mean, you're going to have to make tough decisions throughout this process, and it may involve some component of that.
So eminent domain would be on the table then in negotiations.
Depends
Or
on.
can we-
Well, it's like this, if you don't have the right of way, then you won't get any funding from the NPO or from the feds.
Well, apparently we're gonna spend $320,000 and we're still not gonna have right of way.
Well, you don't
We're
have.
gonna have a design, we're still not gonna have easements or anything, we're still not gonna have right of way. We have a plan.
But you don't know yet how much. Until you've got the engineers and the surveyors go out there and document and pinpoint exactly where property lines and right-of-way lines are, you don't know.
Can you recognize Paul, he wants to say something?
Sorry, and that's what Craig has said since day one, is just that that's why it's a two-step process. First step is you have to have a design. And we've gone for the last 2.5 years. With the design, we know whether it's 2 feet, 6 feet, what is it that's gonna cross somebody's property outside of the right of way? And without a design, and it has to be the NCDOT approved design, there's nothing to negotiate. The negotiation can't start. So we have to put this skin in the game to give somebody an exact answer. And that's what we've all been after for 2 years. What is the answer?
So by approving this contract, though, we are not starting the process of any eminent domain. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know.
Not that.
Okay.
Let me, since we're talking numbers and you've asked very specific numbers, let me just take you through some numbers with, so I gave you the whole project of $3,425,005. If we were to pay the $320 design, and this is, I would say, best case scenario, but if we paid the $320 right now for design, and it did not go toward any match because it's not being federalized like we talked about, and then we said, Stuart, we want you to negotiate the right of way for us, do that full price. If we were right on those actual right-of-way acquisition costs. And then if the construction was that high, and even with a 20% contingency today, if we were to get 80% funding for all of those numbers aside from the 320, which doesn't count, that's another $620,942. If you add that to the design, our total outlay for this whole southern project, and again, best case, nobody hold me to this number, $941,236. So that gives you some idea what we're shooting for. And this is the first time we've had any real numbers, as loose as some of these may be at this point until the design is done. This is the first time we've had real numbers and
Precise planning numbers.
Okay.
You still don't have real numbers.
Right.
These are planning.
Thank you.
And for how many miles of trail is
And
that? 3,400,000.
that's 2.54 miles is roughly that yellow line right there, exactly. So if you break that out, I did the math today, if you break that out, that's $370,000 a mile outlay. Now, again, that's case scenario.
That's with
But
80% funding.
That's 80% toward everything except for the 320 that's not being federalized. So at least we have some planning numbers.
Could I ask Mr. McKinney a question, please?
Sure.
Based on just what you said earlier about the funds being tied up or negotiated or already put into play through 2018, if we buy into this, does that increase our chances in future planning?
Well, there's two funding sources that I talked about from the NPO, because the NPO gets direct allocation of funds to a lot of projects. You have seen many projects that we put federal funds on, and they were funds of the NPO. The other is through what I mentioned, prioritization. There you're going after state and federal funds directly for the project. What we have as far as our budget for the NPO, yes, we pretty much budget out to the year 2018. But even with the STIP, if you're successful in prioritization, you won't see funding till 2018 through the STIP. So it may be a combination. If you're successful, the prioritization, you'll get some direct state federal funds, and then you could possibly get some money from the NPO to the project.
But that's all.
But there's a lot of ifs right there.
That's all a maybe, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe the town would be on the hook for the full $3,400,000.
I find that to be a hard pill for you all to swallow. And I believe once you get designed and you've got a definite construction number, I think we all want to wait till you've got some federal or state funds coming in.
Okay.
But we can wait for that time and that decision
That makes
process.
sense.
Pardon?
We can wait for that decision process to come by us, as long as we have the design work completed and in submission.
As soon as you got a precise engineering estimate for this project, you need to be talking
Okay.
to the state and to the NPOs on what you need to build this.
And will you help us with that?
I'll still be with you.
Oh, yeah. Hang on.
I want to be sure before.
So the 80% funding you were talking about, is that NPO or is that NPO state and federal?
I think it's a combination.
Combination of all.
That's the hopeful combination.
That would be the best case scenario.
And if I could direct you to the transportation plans that you recently got copies of that, and they've had the public hearings about. In the biped portion of that, it lists the projects in our area, and it lists them as tiers. And our yellow line is a red line on that, and that red line in that is tier 1 in that plan. And that is synonymous really with priority plan. And my point is, it's a priority regionally, and Craig,
And then I would take them to be, yeah, within the MPA, yes, it's a priority, but you are segmenting them out to sea trail, and that has some stages with it.
I mean, I think it's ultimately a very good thing for Summerfield. I'm not trying to be negative, but when I vote on something, I have to understand exactly what it means for the people of Summerfield, because they put me in the seat. And I don't really want people knocking on my door saying, people are taking my property. I do not want to do that. So I just have to make sure that when I run online, no, she's leaving.
Councilwoman, the issue you raised is a significant one, but you would have to have a resolution put before you to pursue an eminent domain path.
Okay.
You would not be giving your approval to it at any point at this stage of the game. It would require a separate vote, and then ultimately it could end up in a lawsuit where the town initiates the eminent domain action, and the homeowner then has an opportunity to accept the offer or defend the suit. But it would not be all wrapped up in this one thing you're voting on right now.
Okay, that is very good too. Thank you. That makes me feel so much better.
It was nice to see this many people here tonight. You know how happy that makes me when I see a full house. I've really been on the fence about this. This is very hard for me to do. I think I was very impressed with Ms. Thomas when she was here from Stewart. I think Stewart will do a good job for us. I believe that a project of this scope and cost needs to be taken to the taxpayers. I don't understand why we couldn't have a referendum on whether people want this trail or not. And I honestly believe that people in Summerfield do want trails. What kind of trails they are, I don't know. But I think they do want trails. It was very, Ms. Kaplan said it very well when she said, really important decisions aren't easy. And this is an important decision for all of us to make. And the person that kind of helped me make my decision tonight was Dr. Brown, when he said we need a study, we need a design. And if it turns out that it's going to bankrupt us, then he wouldn't be in favor of it, and neither would I. So I think he kind of pushed me over to one side of the fence, if that's possible. And I think that we probably do need a design, and I think it's time we did it and stop talking. But if it turns out not to be feasible, we can only say we're just not going to do it this way.
This is something that's been looked at for a long time, and I was elected just coming November 2 ago, and took office in December. I came in and said that I really had no agenda, either for or against the trail. But because the trail actually already goes in front of my house right now. It's less than 100 yards in front of my house. And, I spent a lot of time attending a lot of meetings and going to a lot of things and talking to a lot of people. And I feel very strongly that the people of Summerfield want this trail and want to do the trail. And I think that our Trails Committee has spent countless, endless hours working on this and setting up for Founders Day and publicizing this and communicating with folks about it, and have done an excellent job in everything that they pulled together and put forward for us to consider, as well as Scott Whitaker and all of his hard work and effort that is just endless. He works a lot more than he should. So I feel very comfortable with this, very comfortable with Stewart. Meeting Iona, can't remember her last name, but
Thomas.
Yeah, Iona Thomas at the last meeting. And with all the input that Mr. McKinney's had, all the walking that he's done out here, walking these things and trying to figure this out, I think that this option right here is our option. And if we don't come together and rally around this, that we won't ever have a trail. So I think it's time to step up and do what people want to do. And then if we see it's going to break the bank, if Dr. Brown, we'll all quote Dr. Brown, then hey, we don't want to do it. But I think we're at a decision point, and then the time is now.
I'd like to just add too that it does my heart good to see this many people come out and speak their mind, speak wisely of what the trails mean to them, and not only to them, but the future of our community, my kids, my grandchildren. I've had the privilege of living in a number of different towns across the United States and in foreign countries, and the towns that I remember most fondly are those that had trails, either internationally, towns that I lived in, or other parts of the United States. And those that didn't have trails or some kind of connectivity between the community just lacked something. And I think that's something that is woven into our Summerfield fabric, that we can make the fabric even stronger here in Summerfield as having this. I would be strongly in favor of us moving, let's not kick the can anymore, let's move forward.
I want to thank everyone that came out, the people that spoke for the trails, the people that spoke against the trails. That's what we need to hear in order to make an informed decision, is both sides of the argument.
No question.
So,
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if there is no other discussion, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the town of Summerfield enter into a contract as defined as contract 2015-007 on 9/8/15, defined as Summerfield A&Y Greenway South Design Contract, and enter that contract with Stewart to do the design work and finish it in a timely manner.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Adams, second by Ms. McClellan. All in favor, please raise your hand. And the vote is unanimous.
I'm going home. Good night, folks.
That's what I hear about. That's what I hear about.
Speaking of population, earlier, the state gives us certified numbers every year. They give us a year behind. As of July last year, Summerfield officially had 11,067 residents. A year ago,
Hey, went to a heart doctor today, he said, I know y'all are doing a real good job out there. I bought some land out there in Summerfield, and I'm thinking about No. Interesting though. How many people are watching this?
and two other quick things, the planned transactions on the south entrance road is progressing, and also I've kept you abreast of some monitoring that we're doing with our town hall buildings over the whole intersection. We have a fair amount of vibration. We're met with DOT today. They're going to patch a rough spot there. We're going to be doing some ongoing monitoring of vibrations on the buildings. Trying to get the speed limit slowed through that intersection. Have a meeting with DOT on the 11th, also out in Raleigh, also to talk more about it. And I just wanted to keep you updated on that. And that's all I'm going to cover tonight.
Okay, business from the mayor and council, 9A, unsealing of closed session minutes.
I don't know where the ball got dropped, but it was not on your side of the house. I have them here, and that if the council would prefer to distribute the packets, having you guys to review these, and then put it on for another meeting, I think that would be wise.
Okay. All right. And then any other reports or updates or comments from any of the council? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn the closed session.
And let me add did that. The 10A was specifically to consult with the attorney, was potentially about those closed session minutes. So you may want to consider just doing it for B unless you have something else, Jim.
I'll tell you what, if we could just do a 5-minute closed session, I can pretty much summarize what you, it may help you as you review these. I'm not going to ask you all to consider these tonight, but we can go to closed session for 5 minutes. I will basically summarize Bill's memo and how it breaks down and group these things together for you, and I will not keep you any longer than that. If that pleases you. If you need to go and put us in a closed session, if you'd like to do that. If not, we'll work with you.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go take a motion.
Where are you going?
Railroad tracks.
Other material terms for concerning real properties provided under NCGS 143318-11.
Motion by Ms. McClellan.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor, please raise your hand. We are adjourned to closed session. Thank all of you for coming here. Second motion by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor, please raise your hand. And the vote is unanimous. Any other business comments from anyone?
When is our development ordinance coming? On the record,
Draft in October.
October 1st or October 30th?
I'm not giving you a date.
No, I have to have a date, sorry. I have to have a date, my friend.
So you say October 2015.
Yeah.
2015.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Barnes, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor, please raise your hand. We are adjourned.
Thank you.